Chair.
Okay, thank you, Senator Rhiannon. Senator Latham.
Thanks very much, Chair. My questions mostly relate to National Heritage listing of the Burrup Peninsula or Murujuga on the northwest coast of WA. Mr Johnson, do you want to just describe where you are within the scheme of things and what your visibility is of this issue?
So the Burrup Peninsula was added to the National Heritage List in 2007.
Sorry, we haven't met. Do you want to just let me know?
Chris
Sorry,
Johnson, yeah, Assistant Secretary Heritage Branch.
Brilliant, thank you.
Sorry, yes. So the national, the Burrup was added to the National Heritage List in 2007.
Yep.
There was subsequently a conservation agreement executed between the department with both Rio Tinto and Woodside, which provided funds over 10 years for measures to promote and protect the national heritage values of the Burrup. Yep. Principally among the outcomes of that have been an Indigenous Ranger program that does patrols both on the land and on the islands. Yep. Of the Burrup. There is annual there's an annual planning meeting between the Commonwealth and those companies and the Murujuga Aboriginal Corporation.
Is the state government ever present at those? Do they have a representative?
The state government does come to those meetings. They're actually held up at the Burrup. Yeah. And then there are other meetings held in Canberra and by teleconference, which generally the state government doesn't attend, but they do attend the annual planning meetings.
All right. Time's a little short. I think I've only got 10 minutes or so. So could you just provide, or less, could you just provide for us on notice the makeup of those meetings? So what their standing is, who the secretary is, how they're convened and what the membership of those meetings are and how frequent they are. Yep. Yeah, I'd really appreciate that. Particularly interested to know in what capacity the state government participates. Is it your understanding that the Burrup, talking of the entire precinct, I guess, the Dampier Archipelago and the area on a National Heritage listing, has never had a full heritage survey?
It was certainly assessed for National Heritage listing back before its inscription.
I understand that.
But what other assessment has been done, I'm not aware.
Could you check for us?
Sure.
My understanding is it has actually never had a full heritage survey. The estimates of the full extent just of the rock art of the petroglyphs is actually very, very incomplete. If you could just confirm for us what the Commonwealth stated, what your stated knowledge is of the survey work that's been conducted up there. And does this government provide any funding at present to ensure a full heritage survey to make sure that it's completed? You'd probably know if that was underway.
No, there's nothing underway funded by the Commonwealth.
Thanks. But if you could just provide for us on notice what the current state of knowledge is. The state government has been busy delisting Aboriginal heritage sites on the basis of them having no current religious activity, and the Barnett government, which is extraordinary, recently determined the Burrup is not an Aboriginal heritage site. Are you aware of that, and is that a fair characterisation according to your knowledge?
We're aware of it, Senator. I don't think it's the place for us to be commenting on whether it's a fair characterisation or not, but the important thing to note in relation to the Burrup is that it's protected under the EPBC Act. Yep. As a national heritage place, and that protection will ensure that those values are maintained. Okay.
So it doesn't give you any concern that the Barnett government has decided that there's no extant Aboriginal heritage on the Burrup?
I haven't. I've said that it's not something on which we would offer a view.
Okay. Has the department sought any information from the Barnett government on the reasons for its delisting, or had any communication on that specific matter?
We have been in touch with Western Australian officials to get some background information. This is principally because the chair of our Heritage Council sought some information from us, so acting as secretariat to the Heritage Council, we were in discussions with them I think, week before last.
That's good. Could you please provide us with that correspondence on notice?
Yes.
Thank you. Are you undertaking to provide it, or are you undertaking to check to see if you will be able to provide it? Might as well be clear.
Both. So we'll check that we can provide it, and if we can provide it, we will provide it.
Thanks. When was the last time there was any contact with the state government about progressing that precinct onto World Heritage listing?
So there hasn't been any active moves of late because the traditional owners have not been, hasn't been a priority for them, so we've not pressed it with the WA government in recent times.
Okay. And obviously the WA government wouldn't have been pressing the case from their side.
We haven't discussed it with them.
Reasonable to assume. Can you just confirm, these should be reasonably yes or no, I'm hoping. The AHC Emergency Assessment Report, which was completed in September 11, nearly 4 years ago, found that the archipelago in that heritage precinct meets 2 of UNESCO's World Heritage List criteria, and that these values are under immediate threat, their words, from industrial development and expansion on the Burrup. When, I think, Mr Oxley, it was you who said before that it will be protected because it has Commonwealth listing. Can you just tell us the nature of that protection against those threats that the AHC's Emergency Heritage Report identified?
I mean, the basic foundation of the EPBC Act is that any action that will have or is likely to have a significant impact on the matter protected, in this case national heritage values, has to be referred and then assessed under the EPBC Act. Great. So that's the foundation for that statement.
Thank you, that's helpful. So when that emergency assessment report concluded that the values are under immediate threat, what action was then triggered?
Senator, you're in territory now that neither Mr Johnston or myself are able to speak to immediately because neither of us were involved at the time.
All right. I'm pleased that you've put on the record, though, that protection triggers certain actions if threats to those values are identified. I'm telling you that threats were identified nearly 4 years ago, as long ago as September 2011.
Yes, Senator. Sorry, I'll let you go.
No, if you're going to provide an answer. I'm interested to know, consequent on the information you've given us, which is pretty welcome, what's actually being done. I mean, you'd know if anything was going on. I'm not aware that anything's actually underway. Yeah,
so, and what I was going to say is that that report was given in the context of the development proposal at the time, and what I don't have immediately at my disposal is recall about the circumstances of that development and whether that threat materialised or not, or whether there was some other action that occurred that caused that threat to disappear, so to speak. Or to be,
All right, that would be extremely valuable to know. Section 14 of your Act provides that if a heritage site is in imminent danger, the Federal Minister can actually override the state government. Is my reading of the Act correct?
There are emergency heritage listing provisions under the EPBC Act, yes.
Yep, okay.
And I think the construct for them is that if the place is considered to have national heritage values, then it's possible for the Minister to make an emergency declaration to protect that place and then to undertake the assessment necessary to confirm the values. So protected while the assessment is done.
All right, that's very useful. My last one is just to identify for us, if you can, whether any single action by anybody at all was undertaken as a result of that emergency assessment report completed nearly 4 years ago, Commonwealth or state. If you can identify a single person who lifted a single finger in consequence of those recommendations in that report.
Well,
you've identified you don't have that at the table.
Yeah, so we'll take that one on notice, Senator.
Anything at all. Thanks very much. Thanks, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Senator Waters, take us.